Ah, autumn in Denmark. Cozy sweaters, crunchy leaves, that hidge feeling in the air. But for us dog owners, it also means being extra vigilant.
You hit the nail on the head. This time of year brings its own set of challenges.
That's why I found this article from Onlinehund.dk so interesting. It's all about those hidden dangers of autumn, specifically for our furry friends.
I'm intrigued already. What kind of dangers are we talking about?
Well, they cover a lot of ground, but one thing that really stood out to me was the section on mushrooms. It seems like Danish dogs and fungi are not exactly the best of friends.
I'm not surprised. Denmark has its fair share of toxic mushroom varieties, and those can be a real hazard for dogs, especially during late summer and early fall.
The article mentioned the fluesvamp, which I know can be really dangerous. Absolutely. Amanita poisoning is more common than you'd think, and even a small amount can be incredibly harmful to a dog's liver and kidneys.
What makes them even trickier is that the symptoms don't always show up right away, do they?
Exactly. You might not see any signs for 12 hours, sometimes even a full day after ingestion. By the time you realize something is wrong, it could be too late.
That's terrifying, and it makes those off-leash adventures seem a lot riskier. It's not just the amanita, though, right? I mean, the article listed several other dangerous mushrooms common in Denmark.
You're right. There's the Grunflusvamp and the Achedid flusvamp, for example, each with their own unique dangers.
It feels like a minefield out there. So let's say the worst happens, and you suspect your dog might have eaten a mushroom. What should you do?
Don't hesitate. Get your dog to a vet immediately. And if you can, try to get a picture of the mushroom.
A picture.
Yes, a picture. It can be incredibly helpful for the vet in determining the best course of action.
Got it. A picture and a panic dash to the vet. Mushrooms. Officially public enemy number one. But I'm also thinking about how damp autumn can be. My dog always comes home with muddy paws this time of year.
And while those muddy paws are definitely a pain to clean, it's the potential for paw problems that we really need to be aware of.
The kind of problems.
Well, think about it. All that moisture trapped between their paw pads creates the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and fungi.
Oh, yuck. It's like having soggy socks all day, but on your feet.
Exactly. And just like our feet would get uncomfortable and prone to infections, the same can happen to a dog's paws.
So what should we be looking out for?
The article lists a few telltale signs: excessive licking or biting at their paws, redness, tenderness, and even a foul odor coming from their paws. These are all signs that something might be off.
Okay, so if we spot those signs, what's the best way to tackle those soggy paw woes?
First and foremost, making sure you dry their paws thoroughly after walks is crucial. And there are actually some great products out there that can help.
Oh, like what?
Antifungal shampoos or wipes specifically designed for dogs can be really effective in preventing those fungal infections.
I've seen those at the pet store, but never thought to try them.
Well, this article might just have convinced you to give them a go. They can make a real difference.
I'm putting them on my shopping list.
Yeah.
But what about those really stubborn cases where those preventative measures aren't enough?
The article actually had a fascinating suggestion for that too, and it involves something called chlorhexidine solution.
Chlorhexidine.
It's an antiseptic that's safe for dogs and can help prevent infections.
Okay, I'm going to have to do some research on that one. But I think it's safe to say that prevention is always better than cure, right?
Absolutely. Taking those preventative measures can save you and your furry friend a lot of trouble down the line. You know, it's fascinating how dogs explore the world with their mouths and paws, making both susceptible to those autumn hazards. We've talked about the dangers lurking on the ground, but this article also highlights something you might not expect: trouble hiding in plain sight, often hanging from trees.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What could be so dangerous about something hanging from a tree? Are we talking about rogue pine cones or something?
Yeah, not quite. Think about what else you see on trees, especially in autumn. Those tempting treasures that fall to the ground, just begging to be scooped up. Chestnuts and acorns.
You're right. I always see dogs nosing around those, especially when they think I'm not looking.
Hmm.
But I have to admit, I never considered them a threat before reading this article. They just seem so harmless.
Well, here's where appearances can be deceiving. Let's start with chestnuts. They contain a substance called esculin, which is particularly problematic for our canine companions.
What's so bad about esculin? Is it
That-
toxic to dogs?
It's interesting, actually. Esculin itself isn't inherently toxic in the way that, say, some mushroom toxins are. The danger lies in how it interacts with a dog's digestive system.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. What happens when a dog eats a chestnut?
Essentially, esculin doesn't get broken down and absorbed during digestion like other nutrients do. It passes through their system largely unchanged.
So it just stays in their stomach.
In a way, yes. And this undigested esculin wreaks havoc on their intestines. It causes irritation, leading to vomiting, painful diarrhea, and sometimes even more serious complications.
The article mentions surgery. Tell me they don't need surgery for eating a chestnut.
Sadly, in some cases, they do. If a chestnut or even a large amount of esculin-containing material gets lodged in their intestines, it can create a blockage, and that often requires surgical intervention.
Wow, that image is enough to make me want to sweep up every fallen chestnut in a 10-mile radius. So chestnuts are out. What about acorns? Are they just as bad?
Acorns are a whole other story. They contain tannins, which can be found in various plants and have a range of effects. While not always toxic in small amounts, they can be a real problem for dogs, especially in large doses.
What makes tannins so dangerous for dogs?
Hmm.
Is it a different reaction than with aceclin?
It is different. You see, tannins have this astringent property. Think about what happens when you drink really strong tea. It kind of dries out your mouth, right?
Yeah, I get that puckering feeling.
Exactly. Now imagine that same drying effect happening to a dog's stomach and intestines.
Ouch. That definitely doesn't sound comfortable.
Not at all. It can lead to all sorts of digestive upset, vomiting, constipation, even damage to the liver and kidneys if they ingest enough.
Okay, this is definitely making me rethink those leisurely autumn walks. Chestnuts and acorns are officially off the menu for my dog. But this article didn't just focus on those fallen hazards. It also highlighted something lurking beneath those seemingly innocent piles of fallen fruit. You know that image of a dog happily munching on a fallen apple? It just screams autumn, doesn't it?
It's so picturesque. But this Danish article made me think twice about those seemingly harmless fallen fruits.
Yeah, I mean, I get being cautious about wasps swarming around those overripe apples and such. No one wants their dog to get stung. But this article went a step further.
Right. It mentions something called the Drebbersneglin.
Drubbersneglin, what on earth is that?
Killer slug. And yes, it sounds just as ominous in English.
Okay, now you've got my attention. I'm not a fan of slugs to begin with, but killer slug definitely bumps them up the threat list. What makes them so dangerous?
It's not just about the slugs themselves, but what they can be carrying lungworm. They act as a sort of middleman, picking up the lungworm larvae and potentially passing them on to unsuspecting dogs.
Lungworm. So if my dog happens to swallow a slug while gobbling down a piece of fallen fruit,
It's a possibility, unfortunately.
and lungworm is bad, what kind of damage are we talking about here?
It's a nasty parasite that infects their lungs and airways. Think coughing, difficulty breathing, even pneumonia or heart problems in severe cases.
Okay, I was not expecting that level of seriousness from a slug. This is making me rethink those autumn walks.
Yeah.
So what's the verdict? Do we need to completely ban our dogs from even going near fallen fruit?
It's all about managing the risk, really. The article recommended being extra vigilant about clearing up fallen fruit, especially if you have a dog who loves to scavenge.
Makes sense. Kind of like how we rake up those leaves before they turn into a soggy, slippery mess.
Yeah.
It's all part of being a responsible dog owner. Yeah.
Exactly. And those regular vet checkups, those are key to catching any potential problems early on.
This deep dive has definitely been an eye-opener. Autumn in Denmark, beautiful as it is, comes with its own set of challenges.
It really does. It's a great reminder that no matter where you live, understanding those local nuances is essential for keeping our furry friends happy and healthy.
Couldn't agree more. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What stood out to you most about these hidden dangers of a Danish autumn? Head over to our social media and join the conversation. And as always, stay safe out there, both you and your four-legged friends.